Good evening. I'm going to be responding to the first prompt processing and interpreting the journey. I actually pull two quotes that were used in that video that I would also like to respond to because I think they really kind of set the foundation for why I resonated so much with this video. The first quote comes from Deuteronomy 32 10 through 11, and it says, God found Israel in a wild land, in a howling desert wasteland. He protected him, cared for him, watched over him with his very own eye. So there was a time in my life where my faith was really rocked. It was really shaken. There was a group of individuals called the Conscious Community where they really began to challenge the history of the Christian faith and the history of Jesus in a way that I had not been challenged before. And I really didn't know what to do with that information. I remember going through that process, this wild land, this desert kind of space that I was in, and my prayer was, God, just don't let me go. And very similar to Professor Hankins, this was about 18 months that I was in this desert wasteland, this wild land, really on this journey, trying to hold on to my faith. And there's another quote. So within that season is actually how I ended up in apologetics. I had never heard about apologetics before, but searching for answers, searching for a response to what I was feeling, I got into apologetics. And so I'll go to this quote and then I'll come back to the apologetics piece. It says, storytelling needs to be unhurried and unharried. So the listener must be willing to let the narrative unfold. So I was in a season of my life that could not be hurried. I wanted it to be hurried, but I found no resolution immediately. It really was a season that I was in, and my story was being told. What I would say is the listener was willing to let the narrative unfold in my life, right? But when we talk about the listener, I think that's what's probably unique. And I'm glad we've gone through this course because now I have language for that. My mentor was actually an indirect mentor. My mentor was someone I knew by the name of Michael McBride. You may have seen him on CNN. But in addition to Michael McBride, the Jude 3 Project was a great mentor of mine. And that is something you can find on YouTube and social media. There was some apologists named Eric Mason, Brother Berean, Nefertiti, James Cone, and James Cone's writings and books, and Fuller's own. And I'm not sure if Dr. Professor Vince Bantu is still with Fuller, but these were people that I began to follow, to listen to. These were the people who were patient with me. The books, the videos, the Jude 3 Project. They were patient with me as I was in this wilderness stage, and they weren't direct mentors, but they were indirect mentors, and they really helped me in a season and mentored me. The books and the readings really mentored me in a time where I needed to be mentored. And so it was these apologists, these books, and these, like the Jude 3 Project, that's who accompanied me for that 18 months that I really struggled. And so processing and interpreting the journey. That was a significant journey in my life. And those were the individuals who mentored me. They were very indirect, but it was definitely a desert season of my life. And it was a space where, it needed to be unhurried. I really had to take my time, and I praise God for that season of my life because I came out of it much stronger in the faith. So there's my story.